What's going on, everybody? It is Overreaction Time once again. I am your host, Simon Samano, and look who I got with me this week for the post UFC 322 edition of ORT. It is none other than the fabulous Farah Hannoun. Welcome back, Farah. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Good to be back. How are you?
Isn't it great to be back? I'm doing fantastic. We're just coming off this UFC 322 that was massive on paper, and it delivered some exciting stuff. So are you ready to get going on this thing?
Yep, let's get the ball rolling.
Let's get the ball rolling. Kamikaze, you know what time it is. Hit it.
I mean, guys, what are you fucking? Is this tonight's stupid question night? Are you guys that fucking stupid? You can't be that fucking stupid. Who gives a shit? One of the dumbest things I've ever read in my life. Fucking common sense. Everybody knows that.
All right, Farah, I know I just said we have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about from UFC 322, but before we do, this is where I remind the viewing audience, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. Hit the bell, too, while you're at it. And, yeah, you know, we want to get this thing going, all right? So let's get this thing popping. Please hit that like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, Farah, now let's move on and let's talk about the fights at UFC 322. And we're going to talk, of course, we're going to start at the very top with the main event where Islam Makhachev became the next double champ in UFC history with a clean sweep of Jack Della Maddalena. He claims the welterweight title, just pure domination, honestly, from start to finish for an entire 25 minutes. I know a lot of people may not have been, really super excited about the way how the fight unfolded. It was typical, kind of what you would expect from Islam Makhachev, but he got the job done in impressive and convincing fashion, Farah. And I'm going to go ahead and hit you with this now as I was thinking about what I thought of Islam Makhachev's performance, but his really, as a whole, is that Islam Makhachev's welterweight title win, it puts him ahead of Khabib as an all-time UFC great.
Okay, now obviously the fact that he's won a second belt and Khabib hasn't done that, yeah, obviously that's clearly something he has an advantage over him, but I don't know, it's just the dominance of Khabib is just... I know we're comparing accolades to dominance, but it's just hard to ignore what Khabib was doing throughout his run. Now, I'm not saying when it's all said and done that Islam can't surpass Khabib. Maybe I'll change my mind in like the next fight, whatever it may be. But I've been thinking about this a lot, and I don't know if I'm ready to say that just yet. I'm not outraged by somebody who may think that, but it's just the dominance that Khabib had is just unmatched. Like, we've never really seen anything like that. And yes, you can make the argument because he didn't hang around as much as the John Joneses, the Anderson Silvas and whatnot, where, you know, you get into the latter years of your career and the new wave come up and then the performances aren't as dominant, but still what he did throughout his career, the way he beat people up on the ground, even the fight that Islam had, it was so dominant over JDM, but what Khabib was doing when he was dominating those guys on the ground just left you like in awe. And I'm not saying that what Islam did against JDM isn't extremely impressive, but it's just a little bit different. So for now, I'm going to say it's an overreaction, but I'm not saying that Islam cannot go down as greater than Khabib. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of criticism for that because Khabib had 3 title defenses at lightweight. And Islam had 4, broke the record, obviously, and now claimed a second belt. So undoubtedly, yeah, I'm kind of like running circles. So undoubtedly, like his accomplishments, but I just can't ignore Khabib's dominance. I don't know. I just can't.
I think what you mean to say, Farah, is that it's not an overreaction, right? Not an overreaction, but you don't agree.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. That's fair. Yeah. So
not an overreaction, but you don't necessarily agree.
Yeah. So if you think that, I get it. So I'm not like outraged by it, but I don't know. It's just the dominance of Khabib was just so different. So I don't know. Maybe give me a fight or two. Super sold on Islam. Don't get me wrong, but maybe give me a fight or two, and I'll be ready to definitively.
I mean,
say.
if you don't think he is, that's fine. But he's just going to build off on his legacy now from this point forward, and that's the part about this. He's going to separate himself from Khabib moving forward. I mean, Khabib. Listen, I know the undefeated record 29-0, and I think if I look back, Farah, at when we did our 30 greatest UFC fighters, Khabib was number 5, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
And I honestly, in retrospect, now that's probably, we probably had him too high. I think we overvalued the undefeated aspect because the strength of schedule just wasn't there. The number of title defenses wasn't there. You know, he had a chance to really build on his legacy and probably solidify himself as number 1. And anybody who talks about Khabib being number 1, that's just, to me, that's just silliness, because again, he cut
Yeah,
himself short.
Yeah.
But with Islam though, he's gonna build off this legacy and separate himself even more. And I just think, from what I see, I don't know, I feel like, who's to say he's not a better wrestler than Khabib, and definitely is a better striker than Khabib, don't you think?
Yeah, I'd give him the striking advantage. It's just that the way Khabib was beating these guys, it's just we haven't really seen it from these. Like, I mean, Hamza was doing it to a degree, and then obviously his performance against Strickers, but then you can argue many different things, right? Like, but I don't know, like with Khabib, and then some people are going to put asterisks on Islam's title defense, especially the Moicano one. That's not his fault. Like, we can't
Not his fault.
Can't put the blame on the fighters for who they're fighting in their title defenses and stuff. Circumstances, of course. So maybe if Islam had a stronger 4 title defenses, I would think otherwise, but again, not his fault. So I don't know. Maybe give me a fight. I just can't ignore that the dominance Khabib had is just something unlike we've ever seen. So I think that sticks in my mind maybe more than it should. But obviously claiming the second belt and the way he did it against Jack Dell was incredible.
Yeah, well, you at least think he's close, right? He's close and capable of surpassing his mentor.
Absolutely, and I think he will. But right now, I'm not ready to say it.
Okay, well, now let's move forward now, talking a little bit more about Islam, right? There's a lot of talk about what will come next from Islam Makhachev, okay? You would think it's going to be welterweight title defense, obviously, winning the championship. He gave up the lightweight championship. And one of the things that immediately people start talking about is, then Ilia Topuria injects himself into the conversation immediately afterwards with a tweet calling out Islam, saying that he's confident that he'll be able to knock him out and this and that. And that is a fight, Farah, that I was really excited about. And I know I've pushed for that fight before with you, but I'm going to go ahead and hit you with this right now, is that Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria, it makes sense only as a lightweight fight.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Just because I think UFC 322, like, especially looking at the co-main event, I think a lot of people looked at that Valentina and Zhang Weilian as size matters. Now, I know Ilya's a lot shorter. He's stocky, he's a lot shorter, and he's an elite grappler, but we've never really seen him on the defensive end except against Bryce Mitchell, who was able to take him down. We tend to nitpick, and I can't ignore these things. And I said this in the preview show about Valentina and Zhang Weili, and I said the same thing about JDM and Islam. I said, I can't ignore Zhang Weili getting taken down by Rose Namajunas. I can't ignore Jack Dilla getting taken down by Bassel Hafiz and Gilbert Burns. I just can't ignore those things. And this is why I was confident in both of my picks. And exactly, I felt like that was the way the fights were going to go. Now, I didn't think Islam was going to be as dominant. I expected more resistance from Jack, and at least for him to get up. But I can't ignore those things. So for me, we're nitpicking here because Ilya's pretty much had a kind of a flawless record and performances. But I can't ignore the fact that Bryce Mitchell took him down and kept him down for a little bit. I can't ignore thinking that Islam would do the same, especially that Islam has that extra weight that he put on at 170. So, yeah, I agree. That fight should have been made that lightweight, but they just happened to both want to vacate and move up at the exact same time. As in, Islam went up to 170. So it's kind of unfortunate. I think that fight should have happened then. I don't know if I care to see it as much now, especially at 170.
Based on what you just saw from the JDM fight, you're just like, we're going to just see him. Okay. So this is where I was coming from with this. It's like, I would still be excited to watch this fight at 155 pounds, but at 170 pounds, where I think the size advantage becomes way too much and Islam's able to just take him down probably a lot easier and just lay on him for 25 minutes. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see. I need that, the possibility of that happening being to a lesser degree, and that's only at 155. It's why we were so excited about seeing it at 155, right? If he was going to come up and challenge. So I say that, Farah, but do you think, though, that the UFC would still be big on this fight? And if it was big on this fight, do you think there's any way that Islam would want to go down to 155 and fight him, even if it meant he could claim a double champ status, like a dual championship status, if they would let him?
I mean, I think they would have to compensate him in a way that, like, astronomical number that he hasn't seen before in his career, because why would he want to level the playing field for Ilia? And why would he want to go back to 55 when we know that?
But you weren't leveling it. You're already going to fight him a level up already. He's a featherweight. You're already going to fight him at an advantage, right? He was a featherweight moving up to lightweight.
Fair.
So he's already got the advantage. Now it's just an even bigger advantage at 170. So just stay at 155. You can make it happen. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. This is why I'm just trying to pick your brain. Like it's not typical that a higher division champion would go lower and challenge for a title. But if this fight feels like it's big enough, if it swells over the course of however long, next few months or whatever the case is, and it stays at the forefront of the conversation, do you think the UFC would entertain it? Would Islam Makhachev entertain going down to challenge for his belt?
You know what? If Kamaru Usman wasn't around, I'd say yeah, because there isn't too much incentive in these young killers in Carlos Prates and Michael Morales for Islam Makhachev's legacy, especially that we're talking about him potentially surpassing Khabib and being an all-time great and pound for pound number one. Those are dangerous fights for him that he doesn't have much to gain. Kamaru Usman, on the other hand, is a former 5-time defending welterweight champion. I'm seeing a lot of people throw his name as the welterweight GOAT. Dana and I think Anik or whatnot, which I disagree with, but different conversation. But for me, because Kamaru Usman's around, I don't think he does it right now. If Kamaru wasn't, I would tell you he'd do it, because what is the incentive in those young killers at 170 pounds? Like, there isn't too much to gain for Islam, especially if we're talking about legacy right now. These are dangerous fights that he doesn't have too much to gain. But Kamaru Usman's around. Kamaru wants it. Islam wants it. Dana loves Kamaru Usman. I think that's the fight we see next.
All right, Farah. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see how it all unfolds, but it'll be exciting. See what we get left from Islam. Of course, Khabib had said, maybe he only has fights for 2 more years. So who knows? We might only see another 3 fights out of Islam. And hey, it's going to be must-see TV seeing what he does at welterweight. Okay, Farah, let's talk about the co-main event. All right, at UFC 322, another clean sweep. In this case, Valentina Shevchenko holds serve, and she clean sweeps a unanimous decision against Zhang Weili, who was moving up from strawweight, trying to earn the flyweight title. But Valentina looking as masterful as she's ever looked in a fight. Dare I say, maybe the best performance of her entire career, perhaps. But Farah, there's a lot of conversation now about Valentina and where she stands as the GOAT. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit you with this. That Valentina Shevchenko, she sure looked like the greatest female fighter of all time, and she just might be.
Overreaction. Sorry.
That's the way I said it, but Farah, I said
no, we were
might be. I didn't say definite. I said just might be. Maybe.
No, overreaction.
That's an overreaction?
We were doing so well, Simon, but okay. Like, we were like so calm and nice. I barely raised my voice today, but no. Look, Valentina's fantastic, but I just knew, like, I was pretty confident. I'm not always confident in my picks when it comes to the co-main and main. I'm always 50-50, whatnot. I was very confident in this pick. I just knew the size difference was going to be a big factor. I told you I couldn't ignore what Rose Namajunas did to Zhang Weili, and I know fighters can improve and they can get better, but this is exactly how I saw it play out, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Like, I'm not some genius.
It is exactly how you saw it playing out?
Yeah.
The minute taking her down and controlling her on the mat?
Yep, I said that on the preview show. I was not confident in the main event going down like that. I said Islam will be able to take him down, but I thought Jack was going to scramble and get back up. I knew, like, I couldn't ignore what Rose Namajunas did to Zhang Weili, and Rose is not, like, she's a great submission artist, but she's not a wrestler or standout Division 1 wrestler, you know what I mean? So I know she handled Tatiana Suarez well, but Tatiana Suarez, like, in terms of the striking and the distance management and stuff, I knew it wasn't going to be as easy. But yeah, I just felt that Valentina was going to have her way. So very impressive, don't get me wrong. And I can always laud a champion for being smart and going with the correct game plan. We've seen that a lot lately with Hamza DDP, Islam JDM, Valentina, Zhang Weili. You might call it boring, you might complain, but at the end of the day, it's called smart strategy. But no, what Amanda Nunes was doing to her opponents, the skins on her wall, her strength of schedule, her resume, I just think you can't ignore. Like, the Cyborg knockout for me as well was like, because Cyborg's great, and I know she didn't get to stick around in the UFC as long as we wanted her to, but we can't deny her greatness and what Amanda did to her to capture the second belt, and all the names on her resume, like what Ronda, Misha, Holly Holm, Cyborg, like, how could you can't get a resume better than that in MMA in general. So I can't ignore that. So for me, Amanda Nunes is still the GOAT.
11 championship wins. They're tied. She tied Amanda with 11 championship wins. I know the head-to-head losses, but split decision in the second one, Farah. I mean, Valentina arguably won that fight.
No, but look, what are we going to do when we're comparing, like, okay, they've got the same title wins. How could you compare them? Oh, if they only can go head to head. Oh, wait, they did. And it's 2-0 Nunes.
I know, but arguably the second fight, come on. Okay,
Close,
let me
close.
reword something here for you then real quick, all right?
Okay.
If she's not the greatest of all time, and that's fine. I don't think it's an overreaction for you to still stand by Amanda Nunes. And hey, I'm not saying that I think she just might be, all right? But let me say this. One thing I do think between the two of them, if we're comparing Amanda and Valentina, and yes, the results of their head-to-head fights are what they are, but Valentina Shevchenko, she's probably the most skilled female mixed martial artist of all time. Yeah? Is she not the most skilled? She's more skilled than Amanda, all around, well-rounded mixed martial artist.
Definitely more technical. I'll put that, especially from the striking. Yeah, from the striking front. Like, I would say Amanda's got more power. But yeah, like Valentina's definitely like the more technical fighter. Okay, I'll give her the more technical fighter. But it's hard to call her more skilled when Amanda beats her.
Is the only way that
and it's
Valentina,
not like
can Valentina overtake the spot if they were to fight, if the trilogy were to happen and she wins?
Could do, since this is a debate in the first place, and I've heard, like, I mean, Rogan disagreed with Anik, but at least it's a debate, right? So she's gotten to the point where it's a debate. And if they can fight a third time and Valentina can win, because it's not like Amanda, like, it wasn't a lucky punch by Amanda. Like, they went the full rounds in both fights. So we saw a mixed martial arts fight play out entirely. And I know the second fight, was it the first fight that was super close? Yeah, the first fight. So yeah,
no, the second fight was the split decision.
The second fight was a split decision. So yeah, like it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate a trilogy. I'm not sure what Amanda's intentions are coming back. She's got to get through Kayla Harrison first, and maybe if she loses to Kayla, if she gets like thrown around and tossed around and stuff, it changes stuff, right? Like, you just start to see people differently. So yeah, let's see what happens with Kayla. But for now, Amanda's my goat, and pretty risky move for Amanda to be coming out of retirement. I think she should have just stayed retired. Honestly, she decided to retire at the time. I'm afraid this plays out similarly to Henry Cejudo.
Before we move on to the next thing, real quick, then can I get your take on what do you think? Because I felt like Kayla Harrison calling out Valentina Shevchenko a couple weeks ago was kind of out of nowhere. What do you think? What do you think the motivation is behind that? Where do you think that stems from? Do you think there's issues with making this Amanda fight, and she suddenly started talking about Valentina because she wants one or the other? But we thought it was going to be Amanda the whole time. Do you think that fight there's something behind the scenes where it's not such a lock?
There could be, and maybe Kayla's thinking, let me fight Valentina, then I'll fight Amanda at the White House. You know what I mean? Like, for Kayla, it's like the White House is a lock.
First part of the year, first quarter, and then wait till June for the White House.
Yeah, like Kayla's a lock for that. I mean, she even went and visited the White House when they were trying to like get the plans for this event, and she's the only current American champion, so it kind of is a given. So I think she's just thinking about all that, like, let me have a plan B, and then yeah. So if I can get a fight with Valentina, let's get that in January, and then. But I think Nunes is the plan, but this could just be Kayla keeping her options open, giving herself a plan B in case for whatever reason the Nunes fight doesn't materialize soon.
All right. Interesting. All right, Farah. We're almost there eye to eye. We understand each other. We're good. I feel like we're about to not be good, though, because you already touched on something we just talked about. So let's move on. And I feel like we're about to not be good again. Obviously, at UFC 322, it was a big welterweight. It was a big welterweight themed event, right? We had 3 big time fights on the main card. Of course, we already talked about the main event. Islam Makhachev became the champion, but then of course we had earlier in the night on the main card, Carlos Prates took on Leon Edwards, knocked him out in the second round impressively. As I tweeted, headshot dead. It was a punch, but it was headshot dead. And then right after that, you didn't think that was going to get followed up, but then right after that, Michael Morales is fighting Sean Brady, who's the number 1 contender. And I had said a few weeks ago that he got screwed over. He absolutely got screwed over. And then Michael Morales just took absolute advantage of this matchup and finished him with punches in the first round. 2 really impressive victories by both Michael Morales and Carlos Prates. Farah, you already talked about Kamaru Usman wanting the next title shot, and I already know what you're going to tell me because you touched on it. And I was going to say this, that based on what those two guys did, I'm sorry, Kamaru Usman, but you can forget about that next title shot that you wanted.
I'm sorry, Simon. You can forget about what you just said because Kamaru is getting that title shot. Dana loves him. He calls him the great. I don't know if he's mad at GSP or he just loves Kamaru Usman or a combination of both. But I don't. Every time I read that, I'm like, I think I've written that headline before. Kamaru Usman's welterweight goat. I've written it many times. Yeah, look, Islam wants it. Kamaru wants it. They're under the same management. Dana loves both. It's happening, Simon. Accept it.
Come on, but it shouldn't. Really? We've talked about how, like, this is like Justin Gaethje, but at welterweight. I understand that Kamaru Usman has a bigger resume, obviously, and is one of the all-time greats at welterweight, but this is Justin Gaethje 2.0.
I'm not saying he's the most deserving. I would love this fresh blood to get the title. Like, welterweight is so exciting. Like, Ian Machado Garry is going to fight Bilal this Saturday. We've got Shevchenko, who I understand probably is going to end up getting booked because he was the number one contender, but it's been a layoff. Michael Morales, super exciting. Carlos Pratas, super exciting. But I told you, what's the incentive for Islam? Like, we're talking about, super fight, Ilia. Like, Ilia's a big star, and they've been, like, trading barbs and whatnot. Kamaru Usman is like a legacy fight for him. And those are the kinds of, if we're talking about, because when it's all said and done, we're looking back 10 years later. Like, now we're critical, but when we look down the line, we're going to be like, okay, who did they beat when we're looking at the GOATs? And then if it's, let's say it's a Michael Morales, but then Morales loses his next 6 in a row, we're going to be like, well, I mean, it's one of his title defenses was Michael Morales, right? Because unproven. But when you say Kamaru Usman, like for Islam Makhachev, looking back, they're going to be like, well, he's beaten Kamaru Usman. He's beaten Alexander Volkanovski. He wants those names on his resume. And Kamaru is sitting confident, and he knows. He said it from before these guys fought. I'm the biggest name at welterweight. Like, after he beat Joaquin Buckley, he was that confident. I get your point. I would love to see next guy in line.
Here's the other thing, Farah, that sucks about this then. We're up against the clock. The fight's either happening before Ramadan in March, right? Or February. Or we're going to wait all the way until the White House or sometime afterwards in the summer? Like, come on. We're going to put welterweight on hold, or they're going to create some interim title fight or some shit like that in the meantime, right?
Not even. Probably not. Like, or
probably not even that.
Not even that, no.
Islam's going to would look at that as total disrespect. Khabib would look at it as total disrespect if they created an interim belt, right?
Yeah, all these guys, unfortunately, are probably going to have to fight again. I don't want it to be Morales versus Pratas. That's just going to be silly, like taking out a contender. We'll see how, like, Ian Machado, Garry, and Bilal plays out. That's going to factor in. Shevchenko, I think they're going to end up matching all these guys up. I don't think any of them are getting the title shot. It's probably Kamaru. There's Joaquin Buckley still there. Yeah, I get you. I get you, but if I'm wrong, then wow. But I don't know why. I just feel like just give them the bout of.
All right, if Kamaru Usman, so let's just talk real quick. I want to give the two guys their shine between Morales and Pratas, though, because that was impressive stuff this past Saturday. If Kamaru Usman was not in the picture, who gets the title shot between the two of them?
Well, I guess because Morales hasn't lost, and Pratas,
Morales, right?
Also, yeah, and he beat Sean Brady, who was. This is what I hate and love. But Sean Brady's mentality is similar to Corey Sandhagen. I'll fight anyone. I have to beat everybody to get to that. Don't do that.
So stupid.
Corey got lucky, and he got his title shot against Morales because Morales was just beating everybody and lapping everybody. That's why Corey got his title shot. But Corey took that risk against Umar. Like, I'll fight Umar. Like, if I'm the best, I can beat everybody. And he lost. Right. And he got lucky
that it circled back to him. He got lucky that it circled back to him.
Exactly. And any other circumstance would have taken him like 3 years to get back to it. So with Sean Brady, unfortunate. I respect it greatly. But to go from dominating Leon Edwards and submitting him to having to fight a dangerous Michael Morales, like, unfortunate. But it is what it is. Like, he was talking about maybe fighting Pratas, maybe fighting Ian Machado Garry. He ends up drawing Michael Morales, and look what happened. So it's unfortunate, but I respect the mentality. It's just doesn't always work in the UFC.
It should be Islam versus Michael Morales next. That should be the next fight. It's not going to happen. I know you've convinced me it's not going to happen.
If that happens, what is the betting line for that? Like,
I don't know, but that should be it. That should be the fight. I don't know what it would be. I'm sure it would be at least a -300. At least, I'm guessing. I'm guessing it would be.
No, not mine, and not the betting line of Islam being the favorite or not. The betting line of that fight happening in the first
That
place.
the fight happened? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's probably plus 300 or something like that.
Yeah, I'd be
guessing.
shocked. I'd be shocked if that
I'm
was
sure
what
Kamaru Usman is the front runner to get it, but I just feel like this welterweight division is so exciting. You got so many opportunities, and for Usman to, in my view, jump the line. Like for all intents and purposes, Usman should be fighting Bilal Muhammad this Saturday.
I agree.
They should be fighting this Saturday. And then if he had done that, if he beats Bilal Muhammad and he makes his case 1 week after Morales and Praches do what they did, all right, we're having a different conversation. I feel a lot differently. He just beat the former champ. Let's go. I would be on board with it. But Joaquin Buckley, as impressive as it was back in June. These two guys just did something more impressive. And I'm sorry, like this is just Justin Gaethje all over again. That's where I stand. But hey, I'm going to get stuck with shit on a stick and have to eat it, apparently.
That's what I think.
Shrug. Yeah. I told you so.
Yeah.
She's like, shrug. I told you.
I'll send you the fight announcement as soon as it comes through. You'll find a DM for me.
I'm sure I will. All right, Farah. Okay, we got one more thing I want to talk about from UFC 322. Got to circle back to Bo Nickal because I put a lot of pressure on Bo Nickal last week on this show. I said he was the fighter with the most pressure outside of the main and co-main event. Well, under all that pressure, he comes out and he delivers a sound performance against Rodolfo Vieira, which ends up in a highlight reel head kick knockout at the very end. Farah, I'll just go ahead and hit you with this, and you could talk about Bo Nickal all you want here. Bo Nickal, he might have saved his title aspirations at UFC 322.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that middle finger was for everybody, probably including me because I ranted a lot about him. But I ranted because he was.
What'd you say about him on the preview show?
No, actually, I didn't rant that much, but I ranted before on ORT. But like my issue was because he's like the stuff he would say, like I'd dominate Hamzat and I'd do this. Yeah, like what do you expect? Like you can't be mad. Like you said some crazy stuff. Like it was really early. It's crazy stuff until it happens. So everybody makes these bold things. Like everybody goes back to what Conor was saying in his early days, and it looks amazing when it happens. So it's risky to say that stuff. But you know you're going to eat crow when it doesn't. And it's like his performance against Paul Craig, kind of lackluster. He loses to Reinier de Ridder, which, okay, I know Reinier is a top contender and whatnot.
That hasn't aged well, though. But it didn't age well. It did not age well considering what we saw happen against Brendan Allen.
Exactly. And so he says some crazy, like if he didn't say those crazy bold things, then maybe people wouldn't be so harsh on him. So absolutely he saved any title aspiration or just saved anything for that matter, because I think that because there's such a massive spotlight on him and anytime he does media, he says these outrageous things. Like he's such an easy person to write a headline off because he just says these crazy things. So it's like, what do you expect? Like you're being bold and I respect the confidence, but you have to understand that when your performances aren't panning out, like as soon as the competition level got a little bit higher with Paul Craig, lackluster, and then Reinier de Ridder, they gave you a big opportunity to. You were a favorite over Reinier de Ridder as well. Yep. So it's like people are buying into the talk as well and in the hype, and then you didn't deliver. So naturally, people are going to hate on you. But yeah, absolutely. I thought he looked very good from A to Z, even before the head kick knockout. I thought he looked good, aggressive, confident, basically all the stuff we didn't see in his past couple of outings. So I thought that was a very good performance from him and exactly what he needed. Walk off KO. And sure, flip everybody off.
Well, this was set up to be a rebound fight for Bo Nickal against a veteran who's obviously on the decline. I mean, I don't think Rodolfo Vieira moved his head at all. So it was, his head movement was terrible throughout that entire fight. We're good on Bo for doing exactly what he was supposed to do in a fight that was set up exactly for this. Okay.
So was Paul Craig. So was Paul Craig.
Paul Craig was supposed to be the same thing. So he capitalized on this one, right?
Yeah.
So now, though, let's spin it forward, Farah. Okay. Now that he just had his get right fight, Bo Nickal, I'm not saying he's old, but like he's 29 years old, coming up on 30. I thought he was a lot younger for some reason. I think because he got into the game late. So I'm not saying he has to be on a fast track if he's going to win a UFC title, but it kind of feels like maybe he does, like he's entering the prime of his career right now. He's on track now. He's back on track with this win, but what do you do with him next? He's got to fight somebody probably in the top 11 to 15, right, of the middleweight rankings. Who would you book him against? You got some options. you got of some aging guys with some name value. You got like a Paulo Costa or like a Marvin Vettori or somebody like that. Who would you book him against?
I wouldn't go with the rankings just
Not
yet.
rankings yet, huh?
He
Still
needs to
slow
be
build.
he needs to be more active is the problem, rather than the level of competition. I need to see another performance like that against another Rodolfo Vieira type opponent, and then I'm gonna think. One is not enough for me. I need to see another one. I need to see another one, and he needs to get back in there quick. He needs one more and then throw him on the White House. But I understand him taking his time between fights to get better because he's early in his career and stuff. But you need to be more active. There's no better experience than the in-cage experience. So I think Bo appears to have come out pretty unscathed. He knows better, but book another fight. Like if they're doing that January Paramount, get on that. Like if you're unscathed, fight. Like you don't need a 6-month period in between every fight. Like you said, you don't really have that time, especially if your goal is the UFC title. Like if you came out unscathed, fight in January, then fight at the White House, and whatever he does in January against whoever it is, if it is as dominant as Rodolfo Vieira, that's when you say, okay, maybe he's ready for a top 15. But one performance is not enough, in my opinion, to get him there just yet.
All right, you convinced me. I like that. I like a little bit slower still. One more, then we can start fighting guys in the rankings again. And I can get behind that. I mean, given the way things unfolded before, I can get behind that. But yeah, good on Bo Nickal for coming back. Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Let's see what happens with Bo moving forward. All right. Okay, Farah, let's move away from UFC 322 and now let's look ahead to what's happening this Saturday. All right, UFC Fight Night 265 is happening in Qatar. Doha, Qatar, to be specific, Farah. And we've got two big fights at the very top of the card. All right. Main event is going to feature a lightweight bout between number one contender Arman Tsarukyan taking on Dan Hooker. And in the co-main event, we've got former champ Bilal Muhammad going up against Ian Machado Garry. These are two massive fights in their respective divisions that will have major ramifications on title pictures moving forward, Farah. I will go ahead and hit you with this, okay? You ready for this? I don't think this is an overreaction, Farah, but you tell me if it is. Arman Tsarukyan and Ian Machado Garry winning this weekend is the best outcome for the UFC.
Sure. I mean...
I get a sure? That's it? Sure?
Yeah. I mean, Dan Hooker would be spoiling everything. I don't know how happy the UFC are with Arman, but... Arman was the number one contender, and this is a risky fight for him. Like, I do expect him to win quite convincingly, but at the same time, he's got to win quite convincingly. I don't think a win is enough. A gritty, outlasting, bloody, like potentially getting hurt a little bit on the feet, that's not good enough. Like, he needs to go out there and absolutely maul Dan Hooker, because this is the guy that a lot of people felt like was going to be a tough test for Islam Makhachev. Now that fight's not going to happen anymore. Of course, they fought the first time, but even then, on a short notice UFC debut, he gave him a good fight. He needs to go out there and destroy Dan Hooker. Then people are going to get excited, because we were already excited for him potentially fighting Ilia. They think that is the toughest fight, but now we're thinking 2-man race between Paddy and Gaethje. So he's got to really have an emphatic performance if he wants to leapfrog the two of those, because I don't know what the holdup is for any kind of announcement. But so is it better for the UFC? Yeah, I guess. But I don't know if they're even looking at him, even with a win over Dan Hooker, because you have Gaethje threatening to retire. Paddy's obviously a big star. Yes, Paddy needs to win one more, in my opinion. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I don't know if they're waiting to see what happens with Arman.
So you think lightweight's kind of interchangeable? The lightweight fight, the main event, is interchangeable. Either win is maybe good for the UFC.
Yeah, but I thought Arman should have fought Ilia, but I get it, because he pulled out of that fight and they're not happy with him, and it's been a minute since he's fought. 2024? April 2024? That's a while ago. It's been a while, so it's probably better for him too to get one fight in. So yeah, and then on the other side of the coin, probably. I mean, Ian Machado Garry's confident. He's marketable. He talks the talk, and he's a fresh face. I mean, Bilal just recently lost to Jack Dilla, and him and Islam don't really, would rather not fight. And you know how much Dana hates that. So obviously, I would say in that regard, he would want Ian to win. The UFC would be better off with Ian winning, just because of that. Like, anytime Dana's asked about Merab and Aljamain, and even that comment about Ante Delija and Tom Aspinwall, Dana hates that stuff. So with
the fire of 1,000 suns, he hates that shit so much. He hates that teammates don't want to fight each other.
Yeah, and I know Islam and Bilal aren't teammates. They've trained together, but the respect is there. And obviously, there was some hesitancy from Islam. Yeah, there was some hesitancy from Islam in the first place to move up to 170 because Bilal was champion. So
it's the whole reason why that played out the way it did, right?
yeah.
I mean, that's why we waited. That's why we waited to see what was going to happen. Okay, Farah. Now that take what we just talked about a little bit out of the equation, do you have early leans on these two fights? You're really good at this stuff, breaking down the finer points. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking Arman. I think Arman just grapples him, takes him down.
Set up to be a mauling. It's set up to be a mauling, right? I mean, Dan's going to go in there probably guns a-blazing, and that's probably not really a sound strategy against Arman.
Yeah, and he knows he has to capitalize on the moments on the feet, but I think this could look like what we just saw this past weekend with the co-main and main event, but I expect some more aggressive groundwork from Arman. I don't think it's going to be a lay and pray type of point. Not that I'm accusing the other two, but I'm saying I feel more risks are going to be taken from Arman here because I feel like he knows that he needs something definitive. But Dan is very tough as well. He's not an easy guy to put away. But yeah, I'm pretty confident in picking Arman to do that. And Bilal and Ian's interesting. It depends for me because I was very confident in my pick with Bilal and JDM. And after watching this past weekend, it just makes me think even more. And I don't want to take away from JDM's win over Bilal, but at the end of the day, he grappled too late. They get slippery. They get tired. Jack figures out the distance. It's a lot different when you don't grapple early, when you don't shoot early. So I don't know what Bilal was thinking strategy-wise in that fight, trying to show off his hands. And yeah, okay, the fight wasn't boring, but I just, like, you can't think about these things in title fights. So it's an interesting one.
It's an early lean. This is not your exact pick, but an early lean.
I'm going Bilal. I always kind of side with grapplers, which I did with Sean Brady, and that didn't pan out the way I thought it would.
I mean, this is really, yeah, go ahead.
But there's a massive size difference between Brady and Morales is just super explosive. Whereas with Ian, he's a little bit more methodical. So I think Bilal can get to him in the clinches and the takedown. Although Ian's grappling is underrated, but my early lean is Bilal. I need to dive into it a little bit more, but I just think he knows that a rebound is absolutely essential. And he's done that before in his career, Bilal. Like, we've seen him get knocked out early in his career. We saw him lose his debut against Alan Jouban. Like, he's done a good job of bouncing back, and he's usually very smart with his game plans. And I think after the Jack Della fight, he's going to know that he's going to have to be a lot more strategic. So my early lean is Bilal. I always side with the stronger grappler.
Yeah, well, it's a get over the hump kind of fight for Ian Machado Garry. I mean, you beat Bilal Muhammad after you beat Carlos Prates, who just made the big statement that we talked about. You just set yourself up really nicely for something huge afterwards. So I think this is Ian Machado Garry's moment. I don't know if he's gonna answer the moment with the performance that maybe we think we'll see, because Bilal Muhammad is definitely not going to go away lightly. But this is Ian Machado Garry's moment, so we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be fascinating on Saturday. Okay, Farah, got one last thing I'm going to talk about, all right? And it's a little bit of boxing because we got some ridiculous boxing news, all right? And that is that Jake Paul is fighting Anthony Joshua in a heavyweight fight. It's going down December 19th on Netflix. It's happening in Miami, all right? Rule set for this fight, Farah, just so you're clear. It is a professional fight. It is not an exhibition, unlike the Gervonta Davis fight with Jake Paul. All right. And it is going to be 8 3-minute rounds. It is a sanctioned professional bout, like I said. And they will wear 10-ounce gloves. Now, there is one stipulation on this fight, and that is that Anthony Joshua, he cannot weigh in heavier than 245 pounds. So you know all that fun. It's a legit fight. It's supposed to be a legit fight. That's what they're telling us. This is not an exhibition. It's a legit heavyweight fight. I'll just hit you with this. That Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, it is good for them, the fighters, but it's bad for boxing.
It's bad for boxing because if Jake Paul somehow pulls this off, like, was boxing rigged?
That's what we're going to be talking about. It is I don't think we're going to give Jake Paul the credit
ever.
Because we're just going to be wondering exactly what you just said. And it's going to put the whole entire sport into question. That's why it's bad for boxing.
I agree. It's crazy risky. But then again, Joshua and Ngannou was risky, and look what he did, right? Like, especially that Joshua's losses, a lot of them would come by knockout. So the recent ones at least. So that Ngannou fight was risky, but Ngannou, like, we saw what he did against Tyson Fury, so we expected that he could put up like a valiant effort. It was the opposite, actually. We thought probably that he could knock out Anthony Joshua after we saw him drop Tyson Fury, but this, man, I don't even know like what to think. If Jake Paul can pull it off, I'm gonna have to give him credit, but it's just gonna like. I mean, like I don't know.
I will give Jake Paul credit for even making this fight happen. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. No exhibition.
For bypassing any sort of like traditional road to a huge fight. I mean, he just fought Mike fucking Tyson last November, okay? And here we are 13 months later after he fights an over-the-hill Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He's going to fight perhaps the best heavyweight in the world. Are you kidding me? What is happening? Like, what is going on? What is going on? This is all audience driven, right? That's all this is, right, Farah? Like, this is just the audience that we're dealing with today.
It's the audience we're dealing with and fighters wanting to get the bag. Like, it's just, this is what the sport has become about now. It's like even the double champ stuff, all this stuff, it's all promotional stuff that just helps fighters in and out of the cage or the ring. And it's just different than what it was back in the day. It's like people want the bigger names. Islam Makhachev wants Kamaru Usman. He wants the legacy fight, the bigger fights. They don't want to fight the young, undefeated, relatively unknown guys. Like, this is where the sport is going, but it's pretty wild that this fight got put together. And let's see if it materializes first. Let's see if something doesn't happen. But
it's happening. It's been announced.
We've seen weirder things with these boxing. Yeah, but pretty crazy. And if he like one punch knockout, I don't know. I don't even. It's weird for me.
I mean, there are people saying like if he doesn't knock him out in the first 3 minutes, then it calls all of Anthony Joshua's career into question.
Unless he's toying with him.
Extreme? Do you feel that extreme about it? Like, does it call his entire career into question if he can't finish Jake Paul in the first 3 minutes?
No, because like boxing is a little bit different. Like, you take your time. Sometimes like you could be like, you don't necessarily have to be putting a beating on somebody from the get-go. And so, yeah, like, I mean, we saw Floyd and Conor. Like, it wasn't, I know Floyd's not like Joshua where it's heavyweight boxing and one punch can put you down, but still, like, no, it depends what's happening in those 3 minutes. Is he getting tagged up by Paul, or is it just a bit of a feeling out process? So no, I'm not to that extent, but he's got to finish him. And he's got to not get touched. Yeah, it is. It's
just so weird. Jake Paul's like a 200-pound fighter or a 190-pound fighter. So Anthony Joshua, I'm sure, will come in weighing 240 or whatever it is, right? He'll probably be close to that limit. He's going to have such a huge advantage. Obviously, the experience. I'm flabbergasted that this is happening. He was just going to fight Gervonta Davis. I'm sorry. He was just going to fight a guy who was like 145 pounds. And now he's going to fight a guy 100 pounds heavier. Like, my mind is blown. And part of me is like, I hate on this, but I also give Jake Paul credit.
Oh, absolutely.
In the sense of, look what he's built himself up into since the pandemic era, when he really was just the YouTuber, who was getting into boxing. And here we are 5 years later. He just got done fighting Mike Tyson a year ago. That was a massive audience. And now he's going to go legit against Anthony Joshua. My mind is just blown. I don't know. I need to this needs to settle in with me a little bit more, Farah, because I can't even wrap my mind around what's happening right now.
Same. Like, obviously credit to him, but it's pretty crazy where boxing has gone. Like, in because everybody would call like shenanigans when he'd call certain guys out. Like, they just did that when he called out Ngannou, and they're like, he's not like he's calling him out because he knows it's not going to happen. But here we are. He's fighting Anthony Joshua.
Crazy stuff. All right, Farah. Well, the time for overreacting has come to an end. And I always appreciate you being on the show. We went at it a little bit today, Farah. A little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. You only raised your voice at me once, which is great.
Maybe because it's been so long, so I'm just being like nice and calm.
It's all good. I'll get you back on sooner, and then we'll just be going at each other, all right? All right. Well, everybody, I appreciate you guys for watching. Please, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Farah, we will have you back on the show very soon, and I hope you guys will tune in then and on the next edition of ORT. Dana, take it away.
MMA Junkie AI.